Alright, so this is you to Air 315. This is going to be your VOD review for your Jinx game. I've watched this game a couple times now. I actually ran through one recording of this video, but apparently I was recording the wrong scene and got a big black screen for an hour, so that was awesome. Good news is, that's actually going to mean this video is more focused and a lot quicker, and we're going to be able to get through the points a lot faster, so you don't have to watch a 60-minute video in order to absorb all of this information. So it sucks for me, but you're going to benefit, and the video as an end product is going to be better. So, getting to some of the points now, while we kind of just wait. You said that you had a problem with aggro laners, you had a problem with the snowballing jungler, you had a problem with chaotic teamfights, and warding from behind. In general, I don't think you have huge problems with this after I've watched the game. You actually do a very noble, hardy job of dealing with this Zen, considering how fed he is. Some of them could have gone a little better, but you do quite well. We're going to get into the spots where you could have done better. In terms of the aggro laners, this is actually a very easy fix. Most of the ways that you would deal with this aggro lane that you're up against is to return with aggression of your own. In particular, you need to assert dominance level 1, use less mana in your early levels, and you need to control your side of the bush. So importantly, once we roll right in here at level 1, you walk up the lane and you start autoing with your chain gun. This is super important because Jinx needs to stack her chain gun in order to trade effectively. You need that attack speed. Her early level 1 and 2 was actually nerfed when they gave her her overall buff, but her levels 1 and 2 are slightly weaker. For that reason, it is twice as important to stack your minigun attack speed. But what's important to note here, that what happens is you start using too many rockets on the wave and you run out of mana. I'm going to point out where it gets worse, and where you need, how you change that habit. But the important thing to note here is that this Morgana has been allowed to walk into your bush already. But the way that you deal with this is that you ward it and then you attack her. Because if we look at the screen right now, Jin's up here, right? He's not really on the screen. So she's overextended already, right? She's the one that's in danger. You're inherently kind of overly afraid of her just because you can't see her and she's going to throw damage at you. But realistically, this is a 2v1 scenario, and it's even better than 2v1. You even have your minions with you here. If you're not afraid of this here and you just walk up and start shooting her in the face, you win this trade really hard. She is 100% overextended and is fighting without her Jin. This guy is way far away reloading his pistol, right? You shouldn't be afraid of this. You should have this bush warded, and the moment you see her walking past these minions right here, separating even further and further from her AD carry, you just walk up and start shooting her. I would even say, instead of walking directly at her and shooting her, you walk this way. You would follow a curve like this, because this means you're going to follow her escape route, and you're also going to cut off and get closer to her with every step. You don't want to chase too straight up the lane like this, because you're also going to get closer to Jin. We're going to get back to this at another gank. But instead of walking straight at her like this, in order to follow her and keep killing you, you kind of walk this way, because you know she has to run this way back to safety. So you cut off her straight route by running to where it would cut it off, rather than like straight at her. But here, 100%, like, you don't even trade back. You just let her hit you for free. These minions were going to help you. These minions were going to help you. When you see someone walk up like this, separating from their AD carry, or this bush, and shoot her in the face, she should not be doing this. You're too afraid of her aggression instead of countering it with aggression of your own. Now, an important thing here with the rockets, with the mana, you just hit Morg with one, and then you hit Jin with some. Any after this, though, are definitely overkill, and you start using too many. The important thing to note about Jinx, if we look at your stats right now, is that your rockets cost 20 mana per rocket. Zap costs 50, and Flame Chompers cost 70. So, rockets each are essentially half of a zap, or a third of your chompers, more or less. And by the time that you're level 2, look at all of the mana you've used on rockets. You already only have 110 mana, and then you go and use a zap for another 50 mana, and you're level 2 with 64 mana. You're gonna have to wait like a full minute to even have enough to use your Q and your W, or your W and your E at the same time. So level 1, definitely chill out on how much mana you use. try not to use more than 4 or 5 rockets, and if you are going to use 4 or 5 rockets, make sure they're doing a good job. Don't just hit the minions with it. You're either hard pushing the whole wave with those rockets, or you're chasing and getting return poke on these guys. If you're just farming 1 or 2 minions with these rockets, that is a bad trade for mana. You're already down here with practically no mana. Jhin and Morgana have plenty. Cool it with the rockets, level 1. For the most part, though, you play this lane really well. We farm it out. We don't really run into any severe issues here until you get ganked, and the first time you get ganked is not even that bad. You actually play it quite well. It could be better, but we'll get there. Other than the fact that you've used too much mana already, this lane phase goes pretty fine. They don't really punish you for not having mana. A better player would. We're mostly fast forwarding to a 9:30 where you first get ganked. Your Nami dies there. I think you could have healed her, but quite frankly, she just got herself killed. Just whatever. That flash from Jhin was pretty funny. Your aggressive position that baited him into flashing to begin with was good, though. You knew that even though, you know, he has a 4th shot, he's not going to be able to kill you. But the fact that he flashes for it anyway is a good bait on your part. So you're very willing to, like, put yourself in danger and bait these aggressive movements out of your enemy. Aggressively baiting and forcing people to make mistakes is how you outplay them and how you climb. An example of that would be all of the Qs and Ws you dodged from this Morgana and laning phase. If you were to dodge like 2 Qs and 2 Ws, that takes wow, that costs a lot of mana. She's maxing it, which is funny, but if you dodge 2 Qs and 2 Ws, that's 300 mana from her, right? 300 mana to basically accomplish nothing. So the same way you used a bunch of rockets to kind of accomplish nothing, if you were to not use those rockets but still dodge all of her Qs and Ws, then you would be in a very dominant position. So think more about dodging their abilities levels 1 through 3 and using less of yours. You want to kind of wait to use a lot of abilities until level 4 or 5 after you have rank 2 and rank 3, and there's actually more kill potential in the lane. You either use a lot of abilities early on and get the kills or get a dominant position, or you just don't, you know, waste the abilities on minions only. But looking at this ward, this is a very lazy ward. You need to get out of the habit of placing this right here. You need to place this as far up the bush as possible so that you get as much advance warning of ganks from the river as possible. Putting it this short in the river is incredibly lazy, and you need to get out of that habit as soon as possible. Place it up here. It's going to come back to bite you actually a couple times, where you could have seen a guy a whole second sooner or so, but you don't, and it costs you. So we're mostly going to fast forward to the first gank, because your item buy and your farm and most of the stuff up until this point has been pretty good. Again, here with the bush control, you're kind of just not using your wards. You don't have one right now, which stinks, and neither does Nami. But if you don't have any wards, you need to at least go stand in this bush. Like after you push this wave here, if Nami is not gonna stand in this bush, you need to stand in this bush, because when nobody stands in the bush, Morgana stands in the bush, and that's not what you want. You need to control this, or at least when you see her miss a QW like that, you could probably go for a little more of a trade. When you dodge a Morgana Q, that should be the green light to go for some more damage on her. Tough little fight right there. Your heal's down, your flash is down, and you're getting ganked. Now you saw this gank coming, and overall you play this pretty well. For how fed this guy is, this is why I said you do a better job than I think you give yourself credit for in dealing with this snowballing jungle. The fact that you just got level 7 is a big part of why you win this, and you got more experience at level 1, because your Nami backed off and missed some. So through a stroke of luck a little bit, even you are level 7, which helps you overall win this fight. I want to go back. You set this up really well, because you see him coming, and you bait it. I think you could have retreated sooner and just not been ganked at all, but I love the way that you bait this and choose to fight it, because this aggressive kind of fighting and baiting is how you get to be a better player. The way you lay these traps between him and you is very good. I would say overall, not all of your traps this game are this good. You want to be less inclined to throw these traps at somebody, because the time it takes them to fly through the air and hit the ground, along with the half-second setup time they have or whatsoever, that's going to sometimes be enough for them to just walk over them and reach you anyway. Your natural instinct with Jinx traps needs to be to lay them closer to you, between you and them. So instead of here, maybe you lay it a little more along this route, because you're going this way and it protects you more. Overall, though, these are good traps, especially because you bait him very well, and he gets stuck in them under tower. Now, if your Nami was better, she just throws the bubble here, and this guy dies. Unfortunately, her bubble is late, and not just her bubble is late, but her exhaust is late, and she exhausts the wrong guy. In Universe B, this turns out way better. You basically set it up perfect, and this Nami being a, probably auto-filled support just doesn't really do a very good job of helping you out here. The way you played this was very smart, though. Like, I love the aggressive bait. I love the way that you choose to fight it, because you know you're strong enough. You've got, level 7 versus a level 6 jungler with Caulfields, and you have a BF sword. You play it quite well. I wouldn't get down on yourself about this. I would say that Nami kind of messed up here a lot more than you did. To be fair, though, there's one thing worth pointing out. Once you stop him right here, you should be pathing more towards this way, rather than towards the Jhin. Because you actually get quite close to this Jhin, which lets him get closer to you more quickly, right? And then he gets to help the Xin out. If you were to path more this way, not only would Jhin have to get closer to use his heal on the Xin Zhao, but he would also have to get closer to even shoot you at all. So I think the fact that when you land these traps and you kind of path up to cut off his escape and make sure you kill him, you should be more inclined to still be pathing away from the other guy, because you walk closer to Jhin, which I don't think is very correct. You need to be pathing down. And then here's where you probably feel like you have problems with the jungler, because you die to a gank here. When you get back to lane like this, this is still warded, which is nice. But the moment you push like this, right here, okay, you end up choosing to go for poke on this Jhin, which is very aggressive. If we switch to just what you can see, right now, after you push this wave, your goal needs to be to ward, which is what you do. But once again, this is lazy, right? It's a very lazy ward. The fact that you don't place it further up means that you don't see Xin Zhao sooner, and it's part of what gets you killed. But the real thing that gets you killed here is that you place a bad ward and you overextend. So it's just like a double whammy. You die when you do stuff like this. That's just the end result. But the way I think you could have done this better is that once you push this wave like this and drop this ward, you just disappear. You just back up. You kind of do this poke thing out of order against the Jhin, though. Instead of throwing your W first here, because he already has all of these minions in his face, you need to just walk up and go for a rocket auto attack. When you throw your W first here, you give him time to separate and create distance from you, as well as giving him plenty of time to dodge it, because you throw it from pretty far away. So he gets to see it ahead of time and walk the other direction. And then you go in for the rocket second. The reason why you do this the other way around is that throwing W first gives him time to dodge it and run away from you. And then it also gives him time to stack his fourth shot, which he then shoots you with. When you see that he has a big wave of minions in his face, you go for the auto Q first, because he is either forced to back up and tank you or the minions, or just the minions. You don't throw the W first and then try to run up and auto him. You throw the autos first, and then as he's retreating, you go for a W. So you just do this backwards. But overall, your greed and the fact that your ward is bad and you choose to fight, this is just bad. And then these traps aren't as good as the last ones you laid, right? it's a little easier to critique these ones because you're already overextended and you're kind of dead here. You do kind of make the right decision in running towards the rest of your team here, but you are overextended, and that's why you die here, 100%. Our next timestamp that we're looking at is going to come up at 14:10. Here's another case of this Morgana just controlling the bush on you. I think the more you think about this going forward, getting control of your own bush, this will be less of a problem, but this Morgana is just like, she has complete presence over this lane just because you don't go in this bush and take this ward out. I think you guys kill Morgana here. Yeah, I don't know what she's doing. Kill her. Okay. This kill that you're about to get here, you use your flash for this, and you didn't need to. But this is a lesson I can teach you in like A-clicking and cutting off your targets. The same way I mentioned cutting off this Morgana level 1 and like just going in for the straight up shoot her in the face a lot, where you kind of like walk straight and move where she wants to go rather than like moving straight at her. The same way you would want to A-click and chase this guy down when he tries to run from you. You want to preemptively move in the direction that she needs to be retreating in when you have a dominant position and can just kill her. So what you happen to do here, these traps that you throw are really good because he gets blocked by the minions and he can't take the time to go this far out, and I think he might even still run into it. So you trap him here with these traps once you see that he walks past the minion. These are a great throw. The thing that's not great about this is that you stand still and throw like 4 auto attacks, and you use your heal. I think the heal might have just been an accident, but use your heal and your flash here for a kill that you didn't even have to use either if you had just walked up and chased him a little better. So with that in mind, the way you stopped and threw 4 auto attacks right here, you need to shoot, move forward, shoot, move forward and chase him, shoot, move forward and chase him. Because you choose to do that so late, you throw the auto attack that would kill him, but because you didn't move and chase him sooner, you feel like it's necessary to speed boost after him with your heal and your flash to finish off the kill. Had you just autoed and moved, autoed and moved, autoed and moved and chased him, you would still have your heal and your flash here. So going into the next timestamp. I think your Nami is kind of just loosey-goosey right now. I don't know what she's doing, not being so close to you. But you lay a bad trap here. This is another time where you kind of threw them at the guy rather than throwing them at your feet between you and him. You throw them at him, and by the time they set up, it's too late. So what you would want to be doing here is running and running and running. Wait for him to jump on you, and then throw the traps as you keep running. Like, throw them out ahead of you so that he's forced to chase through them. You did this multiple times, like here and here. There's some other good traps you play, but in general, get out of the habit of throwing them towards the threat. Throw them closer to you, between you and the threat, and force them to walk through them, rather than just trying to throw them at them, because they have a setup time. So your bad traps here kind of get you killed, and once again, your lazy ward, where you don't see him coming sooner. There's a lot of little things that add up. You also choose to buy Runons here, which I think is a huge mistake. Jinx has wave clear with her rockets. I think generally with Jinx, you need to be trying to buy an IE and a Shiv, not Runons into IE. You already have wave clear. Getting Runons is redundant on her. You need to be getting Shiv. The same way this Jhin got Shiv, you need to be buying Shiv first. This thing does a lot of damage, and it's a really strong way to poke and push and continue to get CS and farm in lane. Runons is just not good on Jinx as a rushed item, generally. The people who rush Runons are people like Twitch, Caitlyn, who else? Varus, Kog'Maw. The thing that these guys all have in common is that their wave clear can be iffy, or it's very mana dependent. And they also have some sort of auto attack on hit stacking steroid. With Twitch, it's his poison and his ult. With Caitlyn, it's her headshots. With Varus, it's his W. And with Kog'Maw, it's his W. So these guys use Runons really well for those reasons. You don't have on hit steroids and a lack of wave clear, so you don't buy Runans. You buy static Shiv and IE, and you shoot people and you try to burst them. I think the fact that you don't have Runans here actually even costs you the ability to get this kill. If you already had Shiv, I think you could have gone for an auto attack on this guy, and maybe you get lucky and hurt him really bad with the chunk on the Shiv auto. But here with Runons, you're basically getting no extra damage. I think with Shiv, it's potential that you killed this guy and got luckier. But with Runons, you bought AoE, and look, you're just rocketing the wave anyway, right? You bought AoE and you didn't need AoE. What you need is Shiv. The other reason why I don't like this, one, you die. You choose to get aggressive right before your support gets here, right? When you see that your support's on the way like this, and that you choose to fight a 1v2, you have to accept the fact that you could die in this 1v2. If you just wait a little longer and just chill for like 10 more seconds, this Nami gets here and you guys still win. Because this Jhin has no HP and Morgana's hurt as well. Just be more patient when your support's on the way. Don't opt into the 1v2 when you don't have to. We're gonna fast forward, and then we're gonna rewind for a quick thing. You shoot a really nice ultimate there and get Wukong. But the one thing I want to point out here, you do end up winning this game, and this is a testament to the fact that no matter what the score looks like, no matter how bad it feels, this is still, you know, low elo. This is still relatively early in the game, and the game is not over yet. You guys are 13 kills down, but it's only down 5k. That is really good. So don't look at the score, just worry about keep getting stronger and killing them later on. The thing that I would get excited about if I were you in this game is that you see that no one on the enemy team is building tanky, really. They're all building like damage and just a little bit of health. There's no armor and health, there's no Sunfire, there's no Randuin's coming out. So even though all these guys are ahead, come 25 minutes, 30 minutes, when you have 3 items, you're going to kill all these guys that don't have tank stats. So when they get ahead and they're just building nothing but damage, you just say, okay, I'm going to build tab eyes and wait till 25, 30 minutes and just kill everybody because none of you are tanky, which is basically what happens. I just wanted to point out that even though this score looks really bad right now, this game is actually much more winnable than it looks. But we're going to bounce back to 15 minutes and have a quick discussion about wards. This is a good one. The reason why I bounce back to 15 minutes is because this is when you're level 9 and you switch to the blue trinket. I think yellow trinket is normally the best trinket for 80 carries because there's going to be times when you need to ward 2 things at once, potentially. And blue wards have smaller vision radiuses and they die in 1 auto attack. As an 80 carry, there's going to be times when you need to check a bush or chase into a bush and see somebody to finish a kill. But if you were to check it with blue ward, they just kill it in 1 auto attack. If you check that bush with a yellow ward, it has 3 health and it turns invisible, so it's actually going to last. Anybody who walks into a bush with a blue ward in it just kills that blue ward, which is exactly what happens in the first blue ward that you lay. So when you feel behind like this, I think your priority would be, you know, pink ward here. This is just like core, you know, that's exactly. That's just important stuff that you need to do. You put it further in the bush too, because that forces them to walk further into the bush to come kill it, which is important to note. Like if you put it right here, she could stand here and still kill it. But when you put it here, she's forced to walk in more into dangerous territory. But what you would be doing with your yellow wards here is that maybe you put the other one in here, but she would kill it because this thing is still sitting there. Or you would put the second one right here. And you just use them to protect your flanks, essentially. That's just kind of basic stuff. But what's important to note is that the first blue ward you lay is very, very bad. I'm going to tell you why. It'll become very clear why it's bad. That's your first blue ward. I just paused this at the perfect time, didn't I? That's your first blue ward. Now, we're gonna slow it down a little bit. That thing lasted a whole 3 seconds. And she auto-attacked it and killed it. This is not how you use blue ward. You just gave her 15 gold and you just gave her XP. Just to find out that, yeah, that pink ward's still in there. That pink ward's been in there. You don't use blue trinket like this. You use blue trinket to check stuff late game when you're further away. Like, oh, are they at Baron? And you're halfway across the map. That's doable, you know. The way you use blue trinket is that when you walk out of base, you take the first blue trinket that you lay and you drop it right here. The reason you do that is because blue trinkets last forever until they're killed, which means this ward is going to last forever in your jungle until someone comes in here and smacks it. So forever, after you lay this first one here, until someone comes in here and kills it, you're going to be able to see your raptor camp. And then 140 seconds later, when you get your second blue ward, you lay it right here. That way you can always see red buff. You take your third one and you lay it here. You take your fourth one, you lay it here, etc., etc. You take your fifth one, you lay it, I don't know, here or here. The point is, 6 to 7, 8 minutes later, when you've already laid 4 of these blue wards, unless somebody has come into your jungle and killed them, you're going to be able to see your entire jungle from your own wards. And what that's going to do for the rest of your team is that that's going to enable the rest of your team to not put their wards here. Because they already have wards in this bush, they're going to take their wards and they're going to put them places like in the river or up here. So you're going to enable your team to give you more vision when you give them more vision with your blue trinkets. So instead of laying it here, where Morgana kills it in 3 seconds and gets golden XP, you put it here, and here, and here, and here, and so on and so forth. So you just have like a just vision network of blue wards. This is not how you use blue trinket. We are going to then skip ahead to 22:15. A lot of this is just kind of farming and fighting, and it's feels not worth it too, because there's more important stuff to look at. This is just kind of farming back and forth. Okay, you have a lot of good ultimates this game. You've already had one good one, but this is probably the worst one you throw all game. Reason being, you're past level 11, so your ultimate's really, really strong now. They already got the dragon. And then you throw this ultimate, and it goes whoosh, and hits nothing. When a team fight is about to break out like this, you cannot just throw your ultimate willy-nilly. Your ultimate is extremely valuable. This thing does up to 500 damage plus 30% missing health. You cannot just waste this thing before a team fight starts, and that's exactly what you did. There's a few other instances of the bad ultimates you throw, but we'll get there, and I'll show you with context why you just wouldn't do it. And I think it'll kind of help you from doing it going forward. It was just late for sure. Like, they already got the dragon, right? You shouldn't be trying to steal dragon. You should be saving your ultimate to end and win team fights. This is a very low percentage ultimate that is high risk and low reward. Even if you do steal it, you don't have it for the team fight, which I think is more important here. Yes, it's Fire Drake. You want to steal Fire Drake, but don't ult like this, please. Not before a team fight, because you need it for the team fight more. The main thing here is that this is probably one of those fights where you say feels chaotic. 100%. Part of that is because you're playing against a Wukong. Wukong is really good at being disruptive because he's invisible and he has an AoE engage. What's important to note here is that you were kind of tunnel vision here, trying to follow up on the Malphite. So when this guy turns on you, you're kind of panicking a little bit. But for like a solid second and a half there, when he's Eing in, auto queuing you, you kind of walk around for a little. I think you need to be more expecting of this stealth Wukong to be jumping on you, right? The whole reason you play Wukong is to jump on the AD carry and kill him. So you could be more expecting of this rather than looking to follow up on Malphite. You just get ready to deal with the Wukong that's going to jump on you. The same way Malphite's diving, Wukong's doing the same to you. So rather than get tunnel visioned on this guy, you need to worry about the guy that's hitting you first. So your immediate reaction here would be mostly to just put traps at your feet and then walk this way. But you would walk this way because that's further from this fight, so you're creating distance from the other enemies while you're still dealing with one, and you're also getting closer to your support. So first reaction here, when you get jumped on, drop your E, like right here, and then run that way. I would say drop your E like straight across here and run that way. But more importantly, you need to lay it a little closer to yourself, right? Because you want to snare him and then run away. He already used his gap closer on you, so unless he's going to flash on you, he can't jump on you twice. So the moment you see him jump on you once, lay the traps at your feet and try to run over them so that he can't follow you. What you do is that you flash away from him, but you're also flashing away from your support and your brand here. That's not good. You need to be staying closer to your teammates. You already got hit by all of this guy's damage, so flashing away from him now is kind of pointless, right? You need to be staying closer to your teammates because they can help you. And what's worse about running away is that Nami and Brand want to help you, right? But you force them to run over to help you rather than stand still and fight him when he's already in the middle of you guys. And Nami runs up and exhausts this guy, but I mean, he already hit you with all the damage, right? He gets exhausted and then he gets CC'd. So, I mean, we could blame Nami for this, but she's just trying to help you out, honestly. She exhausts him the moment she can because you run away and she has to chase up to help. You don't want to be running away from your support like this. Alright, you go bot lane. Alright, the reason why I marked this up as a timestamp is because this ultimate that you throw here, this guy's already dead, right? You landed a W here, which is what enabled this kill. You definitely do not need to ult here. This Jin's 100% dead. I understand your willingness to want to kill it and get the gold for yourself, but you need to be saving your ultimate for kills that aren't already basically guaranteed. So this guy is dead, obviously, before your rocket even hits him, and he was going to die anyway. So save your rocket in a case like that. The other thing that's important to note here, after you take a turret like this, you take this turret at 2355, and right after that, you should basically be immediately basing. What you decide to do here is you run all the way mid, which takes you 30 seconds. If you were to just base and then walk up here, that would have taken you much less time, and you could have even potentially bought like a Kerchisis shard. But instead, you walk all the way across the map here to go get to this Wukong. That's really bad. It takes you much longer, and you end up missing more CS because it takes you longer. If you were to just base right here, rather than walking all the way across the map like you are, you could have already been here protecting this tower and getting this CS. And even better, you'd be full life and possibly like with another Kerchisis shard upgrade. It sounds little, but efficiencies like this, backing and rotating and just being somewhere quicker, rather than walking across the map over 30 seconds, is a really important thing to winning games. We're gonna skip ahead to 30 seconds from now. I don't like that ultimate either. You're throwing too many ultimates, for sure. Specifically, that one's aimed at a guy who's not even gonna die from it, right? If that rocket hits this Jin, he's not gonna die. But when you decide to use this, you basically don't even want to team fight for the next 75 seconds. You're using your ultimate way too much off of cooldown when you need to be holding it to clean up fights. With that said, these are good traps, right? This is what I'm talking about when I say throw them out in front of you and throw them at your feet, because then he can't follow you. That's a good trap. But another thing to note is that you threw a bad ultimate, and this is another time where you're kind of walking around the map rather than basing and just refreshing. If you were to base right now, you could buy a Zeal and get all your mana back. But you're making this decision to kind of walk around with no mana, and you're wasting time. Only now do you finally decide to back, but you could have backed a whole like 30 seconds sooner, not wasted your ultimate, and already been back on the field, like right here. So whenever you finish pushing a wave or you finish an item and you have enough money, get in the habit of just basing, buying, and getting back out on the field. Don't walk across large distances to fights. You do that one more time and I'll point it out. I also don't know what that was. Right now you should just be trying to get your Shiv. You farm your entire jungle here instead of pushing mid, which I actually think is the correct call. Because if you look at the map here, you don't really know where Wukong and Xin Zhao is, where they are. You did just kill Wukong, so you know he like just respawned, but the Xin Zhao could still be lurking somewhere. So your decision to not push mid here is actually correct. So you take the much safer route and farm. But what happens here is that you actually, somewhere around here, you decide to shoot your ultimate bot to try to help them, but they don't need any help. They kick plenty of ass on their own down here. So you, once again, are trying to focus too much on a fight that's happening really far away from you. And instead of ulting across the map to like try to help and try to fight every fight that you can, you're missing the fight that's right in front of you, which is helping this Malphite deal with this Garen and then go push down top lane. At this point, you're already very farmed up, and your job needs to be kill turrets and finish items, kill more turrets and get more items. You ignore the job that's right in front of you in pushing down this lane with this Malphite, who could have used your help. And even though you farm a lot, and then you eventually go bot and farm some more, which is okay, it's better than dying, and items are good. But I think you're just kind of not going the right way, right? You walk all the way across the map instead of kind of doing what you should be doing with your Malphite here. Because once this Garen teleported down top lane, like you could be pushing top with this Malphite and just annihilating these turrets, pushing in these waves. But you decide to walk all the way across the map and kind of farm until you eventually base. I think if you could have gotten all that farm anyway that you took through the jungle, just pushing top with this Malphite. In the time that he got this turret by himself, I think you could have pushed with him and then possibly even gotten this one too. But eventually you base and you buy really good items. You finish your rapid fire cannon and lifesteal. And the reason why I really like this build so far, even though I would have preferred that you gotten a Shiv over the Runons, is that you have plenty of attack speed, plenty of movement speed, and you have armor and lifesteal to protect yourself. You're kind of always going to be at full life from now on with fleet footwork, Nami, and your lifesteal, and the tab eyes are going to protect you from the Wukong, the Xin, and the Garen and the J4. So right now at this point in the game, your build's actually really good, and I think you guys kind of carry the game from this point. You have one really big fight where you guys get Baron, and then you basically push again and win. But there's still 3 more things that I want to look at in particular. So we're going to look at those, and that'll probably be the end of the video. I will say, you are kind of strong right here, so the fact that you're walking up is a bit of a bait. Like you kind of want them to go in because you think you can win the fight, but what you do here is very risky. You need to be very careful about frontlining like this, being the first one out in front of your team. Against a team that maybe is a little more fed, or against better players, getting queued like that in the front line is bad. Now it works out though, like because you know you're strong, you were baiting it out, and you can win the fight. But that's very punishable against better players, and you want to be careful about walking out in front of the rest of your team, and they need you to be fed. And then here you just overstay. You push that last wave, right? And then you decide to push another. But if you look at where your team is right now, like this guy's way over here, basing. Your support's here, no mana, no health, basing. You need to not be here. This is a huge overstay on your part. Here they are, running down mid to kill you. You know, and here you are greeting for the tower. This is like the easiest engage Wukong could ever have, right? When you see that your whole team's leaving, you need to leave too. You can't just stay here and take the tower by yourself when you're this close to their base. It's very greedy. We're gonna fast forward to 34:10, and then the last timestamp after that, and I'll give you like kind of an overall things to work on, and I think that ought to finish off this video. A whole 20 minutes shorter than the first one. Okay. You do a pretty good job throughout this team fight. The thing that you make a mistake with here, you switch to rocket form right here when there's absolutely no reason to. The only time you switch to rockets is when you need extra range. When you're fighting in close, you 100% need the extra damage per second and attack speed of the minigun. Switching to rockets here, I think, is potentially what loses you this fight, because Xin Zhao dies slower, Garen dies slower because you lost all your attack speed, and you even wasted a couple movements right there not attacking. I think if you had your minigun up this whole time, you get in an extra 2 autos or more, and then this rocket that you shoot kills the Garen. So when you're in close like this, don't switch to rocket form. Fight the fight out with your minigun. Does way more damage. We're gonna skip to the last timestamp though. I really like your build at this point, except for the Runon's over shit. That's not you. Then you just... The fight went good. The reason why I'm not looking at it is because it was a very easily engaged fight where everybody was grouped and everybody was ready to follow up. So in terms of like how easy it was to just kill everybody right there, there really wasn't anything for me to point out. And it's just a very clean wombo combo and kill from your team's point. But I need to get to 3740. Thing to point out here, you finish your build, right? You're 6 items, but you walk out of base with 1300 gold and no elixir of wrath. When you're leaving the base like this for the final push, whether or not you're 6 items, if you have money, buy the elixir. It's another 20 AD or something in lifesteal, which you should just have for the final push like this. There's no reason to not have it. So overall, you end up winning the game on this push. You played actually a very good game overall. I think your concerns of being worried about dealing with aggressive laners, you need to just focus on your farm and keeping your HP up, or if they are being too aggressive, you counter aggress. I think if you go back and watch this again and see how over aggressive this Morgana was at certain times, you definitely agree that you could have punished her and easily killed her with how aggressive she was being, separating from her AD carry and choosing to basically fight you guys 1v2 with only one ability. You counter aggression with protecting your own HP and farming up, because a lot of people who focus on aggression usually are not focusing on farm. So you either counter aggression with aggression and punishment of your own, or by just preserving your own HP and mana and focusing on your farm and trying to get an item lead. In terms of dealing with the snowballing jungler, you actually did quite a good job considering how fed that guy was. I think if you continue to have better river wards, like not laying greedy river wards that don't see anything, you would have more anticipation and better vision of the jungle. I think you should be more careful about overextending. There are multiple times where you overextended trying to be over aggressive when it only got you killed. So I think if you have better river wards, more mindfulness of the jungler, maybe you buy your boots and your zeal quicker so you're more fast to avoid ganks, and you stick to your support more, or you also throw better traps to peel for yourself. I think all of those things will help you deal with the jungler better, because overall, he's pretty strong when he gets to your lane and fights you, but you still fight back pretty well most of the time. I think you're not going to see junglers this fed very often, so if you continue to improve and still fight really well like you did this game, you're going to be finding yourself killing a lot of junglers. As for the chaotic team fights, Jinx kind of thrives in chaotic team fights. It's hard to give you very straightforward team fight advice because every team fight is different, every champion and team comp is different. But generally, you need to focus on trying to only fight 1 or 2 people at a time and stay alive and stick with your support over trying to go in too deep and just win the whole fight at once. Stay alive in DPS and then clean up. I also think if you cast less ultimates around the map looking for kills that you weren't going to get, you would also have had more ultimates in these big team fights to get more kills and have more success. So throw less crazy ultimates on Jinx across the map and keep them more for team fights and killing people who are running away. I also think in terms of skill usage, less rockets levels 1 through 3, that's definitely a big one, and getting better at throwing your E's. Throw them more at your feet, less at the person, or more behind them if you're trying to cut them off, like you did with the one Jhin in this play, where you ended up healing and flashing after him. So overall, I think you did very well this game. You will probably continue to win with your 70% win rate Jinx, especially if you pick up on a couple of these tips and learn how to be more aggressive and punishing early levels while still preserving your mana. Just use less rockets. I think overall, you did a great job. You'll continue to climb. Message me if you have any more questions, and good luck, dude.